Hello, everyone, and welcome to From Darkness to Love and Light. It is my pleasure today to introduce a truly inspiring individual, Deb Chamberlain. Deb's remarkable journey began at the age of 11 when she and her siblings were placed in a children's home, an experience that shaped her understanding of compassion and human connection. Growing up alongside over 100 diverse children taught her invaluable lessons in empathy and relationship building, which she carries with her to this day. Beyond her personal experiences, Deb has actively contributed to her community through various boards of directors, committees, and volunteer efforts. She has dedicated her time to raising funds and speaking to groups, all with the goal of motivating others to create personal integrity in their lives. As a successful entrepreneur, Deb has built 5 businesses, a testament to her resilience and innovative spirit. In her book, Stepping Stones, Creating Personal Integrity, she shares 5 essential strategies designed to guide readers on their own paths to personal growth. Through her seminars and public speaking engagements, Deb empowers women, youth, and those facing adversity to embrace the realities, set meaningful goals, and discover their purpose. Please join me in welcoming Deb Chamberlain to the show. Hi, Deb. How are you?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I'm so thrilled to have you here today. I'm just so
Well,
thrilled.
thank you so much for having me.
Oh gosh, this is such a true honor to hear your story and hear everything about you. So I will hand it over to you and share with us from the start. So how everything came to be to what you are today.
Okay. Well, our story really began when I was 6 years old. And I'll paint you a little picture real quick, but there were eight of us seven of us all together. We were born within an 8-year span.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's quite an amazing story. Our mother was 17 years old when she became pregnant with my older sister and had her when she was 18. And my father was 17 also at the time. But over an 8-year period, like my older sister and my brother are 11 months apart. My brother, who just passed, is 11 months apart. There was another brother who passed of SIDS very early. We were about 13 months apart. And the same goes on and on. So there were 7 children in 8 years.
Oh so my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, and this was to people who were uneducated and I know it sounds very harsh, but it's just the truth. They were uneducated. My father was mean. And so our mother left, and the state or the social services came and found us all by ourselves, which we were all the time. But anyway, she just never came back. And so we went to live with my father and stepmother for about 4.5 years. And they took us to Florida from the safety of our grandparents who were here in Nashville. And basically she beat one or all of us every single day for 4.5 years. There's just horrific stories that we endured. And the 5th grade, when I was 11 years old, we got off the bus for the very last day of school, and they had left. And so we were in this little house by ourselves, right off the interstate. And, it was a highway, not an interstate. And by ourselves for about a month. And it was the best time we ever had in our lives. I know. I had a gentleman who was doing a podcast, and he was like, "Was that terrible?" I go, "No." And it was so funny. My brother just passed last Monday, and I was telling him the story. He goes, "Did you tell him we had the best time?" And I go, "I did." But I had never spoken a word to my father, stepmother, and then yes, sir, no, sir, until I was 24 years old when I saw him again. And so we were children who were just so terribly abused. And so for that month, we got to be children. We would we were in Florida, so the house roofs are very low. At night, we would jump off those roofs and pretend we were Dracula and chase them. I know. My father had been a race car driver. So my brother got out the lawnmower and he made us a figure 8, and we pretended we were race car drivers, and we would race. And we just had a blast. It turned out they lived 20 miles from us. And during that month, 2 separate times, our father brought a big old pot of goulash to us, and which we ate off of for 2 weeks, and then then the last 2 weeks. So we were really hungry a lot, but we, we did have the goulash. We probably starved to death. But anyway, he relinquished us. Some of the neighbors, there was a little old lady that lived far away. I think that's who we rented the house for, and she would kind of watch after. She turned them into the state, and I remember when the foster people came to get us, and he turned us over to them. He relinquished his parental rights. Meantime, my grandfather and grandmother were looking for us everywhere. And so my grandfather came to Florida. He found a judge in the area and who was over the juvenile system. And he took Jack Daniels, and anybody that knows Jack Daniels is a whiskey here in Tennessee out of Louisville.
Right.
Yeah, and cigars, and went and sat with him in his backyard and had him find us and locate us, which they did. Wow. So my grandparents got us. They took us back to Nashville. They were too old and too poor to take care of us, so they placed us in the Tennessee Baptist Children's Home. It was a private organization ran by the Baptist churches. Okay. And September the 17th, they drove us out there in a yellow station wagon, dropped us off, scared to death. We lived in dormitories. We were separated by age and gender, and there was a little girl building, a middle girl building, a big girl building. That's what they called them. It's the same for the boys. So we were all separated completely. I was in the middle girl because I was 11, and that would range from age 10 to 13. And then the older girls were 14 and up. And so my brother was in the middle boy building. My little brother was in the little boy building. The only two who lived together were my 2 little sisters in the little girl building. Wow. So as an 11-year-old, I was waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, walking across campus, making breakfast for 120 kids. And so, that's where I get my work ethic. Like, can you imagine my little children who grow up? And they say, life's not fair. Ooh, let me tell you about how. Oh,
yes.
But they're amazing kids.
You need to talk to my granddaughter, actually.
Well, I used, when I do speaking engagements, I talk about that. And I'm like, look, can you imagine trying to wake your 11-year-old up and tell them they got to go make breakfast? I always say my children would starve to death, and so would all the other kids.
Right. Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it was a very unique upbringing, and but I learned so many lessons for it. And I'm kind of the rose-colored glass girl, seeing things and half full. I always have been. And I always say, like, I believe God gives you every gift, talent, and ability you're ever going to need in life. He knows what you're going to go through before you go through it. And so I think he equipped me with a personality and some traits that help me to do that. I have, I can be tough as nails, but I chose and always have, and I can remember making that choice. I don't want to strip people of their dignity. I want to get along with people. So I got paid for communicating. I've been in sales my whole life. Yeah. And that's what, one of the things I'm most proud of, people say, Debbie Chamberlain always says you can say anything to anybody if you know how to say it. And I believe that's
absolutely.
And my brother used to say, I hear things from you and my younger brother, but it's so much better coming from you. But, it takes a lot, Linda, not to lash out and live that violent life that I lived so young. Yeah. And you got to be really determined to say, I'm the only one who can change that. Yes. And it truly is. Yeah, you are the only one who can change that for yourself by not doing it. And then, and people kind of roll their eyes at me sometimes. I go, it's just that simple. And I don't mean it's that simple and easy. I mean, you do the work that makes it that simple. You make these mindsets, you make these decisions, and you stick to them. Yeah. Or you have a crappy life. Take your pick. And that's really what it's about. Yeah. And like I can be tough, and I can be, you don't go against me, but I never approach it that way because I always wanted to be a better person than that. Right. And you have to decide you're going to be a better person than that, than use all that nastiness. It's not good for anybody.
It's not good. That's such a great point, because it's, there's so many people that are out there that just feel like, poor me, woe is me. And it's like, why isn't anything better for me? Well, it's up to you to do that. You have to do things for yourself. You can't expect things to just be handed to you on a silver platter. It's not going to work that way. And just, if you have an issue, you have to fix it yourself. Nobody's going to come along and fix it for you, So, and looking at things in a positive way is a lot healthier for you. And positivity attracts positivity too. I feel that all the time, so. Yeah.
Well, and I believe that most battles, that they are fought in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can conquer your mind, you can conquer all of it.
That's right.
That's like my book. When I talk about personal integrity, that's what I'm talking about. If you take care of your own personal integrity, I can assure you your public integrity will take care of itself.
Yeah,
it just
absolutely
does. Because and you don't have to worry about that then. Like, I don't have to go around town worrying about what people think about me or what my integrity is, because I took care of myself personally, and it shows in everything that you do in life. Exactly. And I have people that offend me tooth and nail, and that's a really nice feeling. I remember when I first started building businesses and being involved in those, and all these people. People get a little jealous sometimes, and they would say, people would just wham. And I'd be like, oh my, that's just a nice little thing.
Right.
But it's, if you can fight everything in here and get that right, then everything else falls into place.
It does.
And,
it does.
It just does. And I have so many examples of, as a little girl and a young adult, like, deciding, like, when I was 18 years old, I graduated from Franklin High School. And 4 weeks later, I was dropped off at Belmont University, which is a great private school here. I mean, anybody knows about that, but I got to go free. I went on a partial scholarship because I was a children's home kid. And it used to be a Baptist college. It's now let go of that affiliation. But, it's a really amazing college.
Wow.
Of 22 kids who graduated that year, I'm the only one who chose to go. But I understand why. They were scared to death. I was scared to death.
Sure.
And there was no mentoring there. But I've always been like, yeah, I'm scared, but I'm going to give it a shot. They can kill me, but they can't eat me. So I'm just going to go for it. And, yeah, and so I was scared to death. Would I fit in? Was I smart enough? Would I, I obviously made the grades to get in, but no one knew and I had to live there. I had to live on the campus. I would take my little, and they dropped me off with my box and a rocking chair. I know the rocking chair is another whole story. As an 18-year-old, I asked for a rocking chair as a going away gift for my graduation, but it felt like home.
Yeah.
And I've always done these really kind of what people would think were strange things for a kid my age. But to me, a rocking chair seemed home. And so I took, and my daughter now has that rocking chair. She just had our first grandbaby. And she just, her husband refurbished it for me and brought it back to my house. So at 48-year-old rocking chair, I'm rocking my brand new little grandson in it.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Anyway, they dropped me off. And I didn't think to... I just lived my life, and nobody could believe that it took about four or six semesters before somebody said, why aren't you going home? Do you live too far away? Well, I have no home to return to. And so that's the first time I told anybody, because I'm kind of prissy. I don't know why. I'm just a little
because prissy. You can be.
I've always been like this. I've been a tad bit prissy. I've just been happy-go-lucky. Not that things don't get me down, because they do, but I always knew, first of all, I could not make any mistakes. There was no one to bail me out. If I make bad mistakes, then I was in trouble. And I just instinctively knew those things. Nobody was going to come and rescue me. Nobody was going to bail me out. But that was my whole life, how it'd been. you know, and so I carried those with me when I went to college. And when they found out that, you know, people looked at me a little different, like, oh my God, this girl's got a little more than Miss Prissy running around with a smile on her face all the time. And, you know, some of the girls started inviting me home for Christmas with them or Thanksgiving because I just stayed there. They'd like, what'd you get for Christmas? I worked all Christmas. I bought myself a new outfit.
Oh my gosh.
No, you know, I didn't know enough even then. And and that journey of when I started writing my seminar about 15 years ago, I bet. I mean, and really looking at all the things I'd gone through, man, I must have wept for 2.5 years.
I bet.
Because it's first time I slowed down enough to look. But I came out on the other end, like I'm a survivor. Survivors don't sit around worrying about what happened to them. They just don't. Right. They don't have time.
Right.
And, you know, those people that do that, you know, that's part of your problem. Quit worrying about your past so much. You know, accept it, embrace it. You know, so I came out on the side going, girl, you ought to be really proud of yourself. First of all, you're strong as everything. People have tried to destroy you, your own family, your own parents who are supposed to protect you. But first of all, you're strong. Second of all, you've got some really great character build up there. And first of all, give yourself a pat on the back for the first time. And then I had a preacher say to me, why do you always get back up? And I said, I don't know. And I said, I guess because I had to. And he goes, no, there's something more to that, Deb. And once you realize that, that will become your story to the world. And that's what made me start looking. And I was like, and he was right. And that's when I wrote the seminar, and I wrote the book years later because somebody said, you have to have a book.
Oh my gosh, no,
I'm not a writer. What's wrong with you people?
But it's like so
So, you know, but one of my best friends who passed away 2 years ago encouraged me to get the book done, and I did, and it came out on the first year anniversary of her death. And I was like, man, that's a sign. She was just so taken with her belief in me. Yeah. And she goes, look, I've been around you 22 years and watched you with people in business, and you got a story, and you got influence over people. She goes, Deb, you make them feel great about themselves, and you build them up. And she goes, you have a heart for that. And so promise me, and this was 4 months before she passed, promise me you'll finish that book.
Oh my gosh.
I did, and it came out on the year of her anniversary of her death. Wow. And I remember saying to her husband, do you think she knows? He goes, she knows.
Absolutely, she knows. Absolutely. Yeah. What an incredible friend to have, like, to make you do that.
Yes, you know, Linda, I've been so blessed. I have the most amazing girlfriends. I really, they're just, you know.
So important. So important, you know, like, I mean, oh my gosh.
And they're from all flicks of life too.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's the kicker.
Yeah.
You know, I just embrace everybody. Like, you know, I get so frustrated with people who, you know, and that's another thing. I think if people would spend more time worrying about their own life and getting it in order instead of somebody else's, they'd live
exactly. Oh, it's so true. Yeah. Fix yourself.
I have friends of all different races, friends of all different convictions, beliefs. You know, and I love learning. So I've learned so much from each of them.
That's right.
Something else I'm really proud of. They all call me their best friend. And they go, you realize we're in a group. Like they go, and they go like, we're the only ones with her. None of us get mad that we think she's our best friend. Because she makes us each feel that way. And right. I thought, oh my, that is such a beautiful, beautiful thing.
That is so beautiful.
They're all so different, but I brought all them together. And,
right.
You know, it's that connecting part.
Yeah, absolutely.
You either truly love people or you don't.
I'm sorry?
You either truly love people or you don't.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's so special. I mean, and it just makes, because everybody is so different, that's just what makes it so interesting, right? Like you just, you get to, like, just so many different things, like culture and their foods and everything, right? Like, it's just there's so much to learn and love from people, like, yeah.
And the humor, like all my girlfriends are funny. And
that's funny. Important.
And so, but we're very protective of each other. And that's what I like. That's kind of a rule of mine. Like, I'm the force that brought us all together. But the rule is, I don't care how silly you think they're being, you're going to support them. If they ask for your advice, that's different. Otherwise, we're just going to blindly go with them until they fall. And then we're going to pick them up off the knees, and we're going to hug them, and we're going to build them back up.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get to tear them down. It's their life.
Yeah.
They get to do it how they want to. They get to make as many mistakes as they want.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I'm another believer of that.
Oh, I love that. Love that. That's so awesome.
Pick them up.
Yeah.
And then when we're 80 and 90 years old, we sit back and talk about how silly somebody was.
Right.
And I bet they'll have some wonderful stories about really what happened.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Right? Oh, my God. Oh, Lord. Tell me about all these, I don't know. I had written down that you had 5 businesses, but then you just said that you just opened another one. So is it 6 businesses or?
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. At 23, 24 years old, I had a mentor, and she was with the Better Business Bureau, and we opened an exercise studio, and I was a cute little thing and with so much energy. And so, I did all the marketing because she was more executive and didn't have that personality. So I opened that. Plus I worked and did 12 hours of classes, a full-time job as the sales manager at the Better Business Bureau, working under her. That was my very first business at 24 years old that I opened. And so I was in the best shape of my life, and I've always been an exerciser, but that was a lot of fun. And then when I was still at the Better Business Bureau, and I was married previously, and my new husband and I went to look for a condo, and Jane McCracken, I'll never forget her. She was my ex-husband's neighbor, and she was in real estate, and she goes, "Oh, you'd be great at this." And I go, "Really?" So what do I do? A couple of weeks after that, I go to real estate class. I get my license. I go to the Better Business Bureau at 25, 26 years old, and I go, I'm quitting. Well, go be a real estate agent.
Oh my gosh.
Which is what I did. So I went to work for First Management Services, which was condominium conversions at the time. This was like in about 85, 86. And so me and 2 older women, we worked there. Well, they said, we should open our own company. I'm in.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh no, honey, that was talk about a learning experience. So I went into business. I quit 6 months in, went into business. We each went and got a loan, and I went into business and with them. Within a year and a half, the secretary of the company, one of the ladies, took off with the money. She was the treasurer of our company. She took off with the money, the secretary, and most of the great furniture.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I didn't even know these people, but I was like, yeah, let me put in my $15,000 to get this.
Oh,
so
no.
Anyway, me and the other lady tried to hold it off for about a year.
Right.
14 months, something like that. And we just couldn't. So I paid back my money that I owed the bank. They didn't. I didn't know that was an option. But I was just weird. I was fearless about everything. But anyway, so I ended up staying at home and having babies. And I did some other little businesses on the side, like a little clothing company that I did on the side. But then I got a divorce. And so I went back into real estate because I had my real estate license.
Right.
And and so I went back. But during that time when I was a stay-at-home mom, I did a ton of volunteer work. 40 hours a week, but not getting paid, which kept, I don't think anybody in this town even knew I was a stay-at-home mom per se, because I was always around and doing these jobs that were still sales, but not getting paid. But man, it was a fabulous training ground to keep those up. And so when I went back into business, everybody just assumed I'd been there forever.
Wow.
And so I went to work for one of my good friends for her real estate company. It took me about 2 months to go, ooh, I don't think I want to be your secretary. I'm not a secretary type. So I re-got my license, which I'd let lapse, and went back into the real estate business. Right. My very first business within 6 months of going back into real estate was to build an appointment desk for a gentleman. And so Rob hired me to do that. And I said, I don't know nothing about no appointment desk. He goes, you're a smart girl. You'll figure it out. He goes, but I was doing his referral business. And he goes, for some reason, people go in your office, they're pissed off. They come out, they're all right. He goes, I don't know. He goes, you got some kind of ability with people. And he goes, that's what I cannot teach anybody. And so my very first company for 7 years I built was an appointment desk for real estate. You know, they're the people that call and go, somebody wants to show your house at 8:00.
Right.
That type of business.
Yeah.
Well, I built that one here in Brentwood, and went all over the state of Tennessee and up in Kentucky, and make sure we had the technical pull for the board, the realtor associations. And so I built that company. I ran it. That was the best, priceless opportunity because everybody in town got to know me, and I got to really develop my integrity in my business work. Right. And so people knew they could count on me. So anyway, he sold the company to an outfit out of Chicago. He sold me with the company.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's funny.
You know, and so they decided that I should only talk to new customers. I couldn't ever talk to 389 other customers or companies that, you know, I had signed up. And I was miserable. I was so miserable. And both my kids had gone off to college. I was trying to take care of them at college, and it was a terrible time. So a gentleman who I built the next company for was John Sidwell in the mortgage industry. And he said, and he ran one of the companies this gentleman owned. He owned 7 companies, Rob did. And so we were around each other. And he goes, would you be interested in building my company? I go, I've never done that either. I go, give me 24 hours. So I went to all my friends that were in real estate and said, if I represent this guy, would y'all use him? And they said, of course we would. And I went, so I call him and I go, hey, dude, all right, well, let's give this a shot. And I worked for him for 14 years. He is the one that I just retired from. And we built an amazing company. He was amazing at what he did. Wow. I was really great at what I did. So it was just the perfect storm that people in this town had tried to copy, and it would never work for him. But he had so much integrity, Linda. This man, when I quit my company, when I quit that other company, it wasn't 9 days, I bet you, that he came to me and said, the investors for us to buy this company pulled out, and I know I just took you from a job. But I promise you, if you'll stick with me, that I will honor what I told you and pay you out of my pocket until we get it going. And he did. Like, who does that?
No.
Nobody in this world does that.
No.
But that's the kind of relationship. And he's like my kid. He's like 20 years younger, and he's got more integrity than any human I've ever known. Every promise he ever made, he kept.
That's rare.
And people couldn't understand. Like, people would offer me jobs all the time. And I go, you don't get it.
No.
Like, I couldn't even do what I did for you, what I've done for him, because you could never establish that kind of trust in each other. Yeah. Never.
No.
And that was what made, like, when I talked to people about how good he was, man, you better believe I 100% believed it. Yeah. And they knew I did. And that was the component that people were missing that tried to copy it, was that. And that was a godsend. Yeah. Really short story about that. He had an aunt and an uncle who were house parents at the children's home I grew up in 20 years later.
Wow.
And as a little boy, he remembered going out there and seeing those children. And I think he had this protectiveness over me. Like, I have been so fortunate to have, like, a couple of really amazing people come into my life that really protected me and honored their promises to me, and he was one of them. And man, I'm so grateful. And then the other company, by the time that I was building for him, I also started building a title company for another gentleman that was a friend of his, and did really well with that until finally it was just too much. So I just went back for John and stayed with him, like I said, for 14 years. Wow. So, those are the 5 companies. And now I'm starting my own about, I guess it's been about a month ago now. And, but I've done all this before.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to navigate it. And, there's 2 things that will make me successful, I think. I never chase money. It just comes. Yeah. Because when you don't chase money and you put people above that, it comes. And man, I'm an example of that my whole life. My first boss that I built that company for said to me, if I could get you money motivated, you'd rule the world. But, money is important, but it should not be the most important thing, right?
Right.
And money is only a problem if you don't have any.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I know how to earn money. I have worked hard my whole life. So if I have to go be a greeter at Walmart, that's exactly what I'll do. And I'll be the best greeter you ever saw. Yeah. And they probably won't shop much because they'll be stopping and having conversations.
Exactly. They'll be like, okay, can you stop talking to all the customers so they can get in the door and shop?
So I'm going into this with my God purpose work to really influence and help people who want to be helped. And I don't look at the outcome of how it happens. Like, people get so hung up on, well, I was going to help them, but they wouldn't listen. And I go, like, when you're doing your God purpose work, God never said, you only do this if they do what you say. Like, I never become attached to the information that I give them. I never become attached to if they do it or not. That's, you can't, because it'll, I learned that really early. When I was 22, I was in the Buddies of Nashville program. I had a little girl that I had for 7 years, from the time she was 5 years old. Well, really late, because I had her till she was 14. And on a dime, she became, she was from the projects, and just broke my heart, because she just was like, I want to spend time with my girlfriends. I want to sneak out the window at night. And it just broke my heart. But that's when I learned right there, you do the work. You do not become attached to, because that's ego driven, right?
That's right.
Your heart can be broke by it, but you still do the work.
Yeah.
And you don't become ego driven that, oh man, I did something amazing. You have to just hope people will take the information and that they will change their lives. Yeah. I was just hopefully an influence or a motivation or an inspiration that helped them to do that.
Right.
But they have to do it. It's always them who have to.
Yeah. Right? Exactly. Like, it's so incredible. I don't know, like, everybody has their, their stories and stuff like that, but just sometimes I think it's listening to somebody else's story, like yours or what have you, that someone might just say, okay, I get it now. I can only do this for myself. It has to be me that does this. Right. I can be like Deb. I can be like Linda, but I've got to do it. And there's nobody here to fix me. It's just, I have to fix me.
Well, not only that, not everybody knows where to start.
That's right.
And from doing all the volunteer work that I've done, that's what I learned. I worked with some women who've been released from prison, and here's what I found out. How are you going to start if you don't know how? Somebody's got to jump in there, and you got to mentor some people. Yeah. And you got to show them. Plus, most of the women, and it's very sad, but it's the truth, I think, from my experience, most were molested and abused as little girls. My God, when you steal somebody's innocence and you steal their worth that they never knew they had any, and somebody's got to tell them. Yeah. Somebody's got to say, look, first of all, it wasn't your fault. Second of all, I'm sorry someone stole what you thought you had, your value of your life. Right. And somebody's got to believe them enough and slow down a minute to say, like, but look, that don't give you, it's not going to give you a pass
Mm-hmm.
But you can change your life if you want to, but it's going to be a lot of work. I always say that those of us who were given the short straw, man, you got to work harder. You got to think harder. You've got to make better decisions than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're coming from a disadvantage. So you better pull yourself together and think, no, I don't get to do what everybody. And I knew that, like in college, I think I had my first getting drunk per se when I was 26 years old on tequila, because I didn't know enough. It was a birthday party that some friends threw for me, and I had 9 shots of tequila. Was sick for 3 days.
Oh,
but
no
I had
joke.
Experience. But I was just, in college, I couldn't do that.
Right.
I didn't get to go out drinking with my friends because, first of all, I was at a private college. They snuck back in and got let go. Their parents were going to take them back.
Right.
If I snuck out and had alcohol and got caught going back in, guess what? I was on the street.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't get to really live and enjoy life until about my 40s to where, I just finally got to do some things that people.
Right.
I still am I'm the rule follow person. I follow rules because I still, I had to when I was younger. That was a survivor. I was surviving by a rule follower. And my husband, who makes fun of me, he's so wonderful because he was kind of fast and furious when he was younger. It's just so funny. And I was doing Bible studies. But the most amazing man in my life that I'm so grateful for. I waited 20 years to remarry.
Wow.
And now I have this amazing man who just giggles his butt off about me being such a rule follower. I'm like, no, that's the rule.
Right. I get that. I think because it's respect too, right? I think, I think that's what it comes down to. It's that you respect what
in mine, it was fear-based too.
Yeah, for sure.
There was a lot of respect to it too, but there was also fear-based. Like I knew. Yeah. And if you mess up too bad, and you're already behind the 8 ball here.
Yeah.
So just don't make it any worse for yourself. And I think that's the problem. People make it worse for themselves.
Yeah.
Like, and it's that instant gratification about everything. Like, slow down a minute. Mm-hmm. I promise you, if you put in all the work ahead of time and you just stay at it, like, some of us we're going to have to outwork other people.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
That's right.
And, and I always knew that. I knew I was going to have to outwork other people. Mm-hmm. And I knew I was going to have to watch the decisions and choices I made. Not that I made every decision or choice that was perfect or right, but I didn't make any real terrible ones that stopped me in my tracks or anything.
Right.
Because I was always conscious of that.
Yeah.
And I decided what that life I wanted it to look like. Mm-hmm. I remember that at 16, 17 years old, living at the children's home and thinking, like, first of all, I won't be wearing somebody else's clothes, which is what we had to do at the children's home. I will get a job, and I will. My friends gotta make fun of me. I don't own sweatpants or a t-shirt. I'm always dressed to the nines all the time, even when they go, it's very casual. I walk up and they go, that's. And somebody will say, why is she so dressed up? They go, that is her casual.
That is her casual. Yeah, I know. I feel terrible. Like I'm in like this tank top today. I'm like, shit.
Nobody, it's just a thing. But I know where it came from. Mm-hmm. I know that it came from not having that control or the pretty clothes.
Yeah.
And, sometimes somebody at school would say, oh, I think that's my shirt. When especially when you show up at high school and you're got on some girl walking down the hall, that's her shirt that her parents gave to the children's home. Those things change.
They do. Wow.
You can make a good decision about that or a bad decision. You can feel badly about it, or you can say, look, when I'm in control, here's what I will do for myself.
That's right.
It's the same about violence. Like the children's home, could be very violent. Let's look at that a minute. You got 120 kids who are all been abandoned, abused, neglected, whatever.
Right.
You've got, when we first moved in, 65, 70-year-old house parents as an older couple who retired. They're trying to take care of a building full of children.
Wow.
Who know nothing but fighting. I saw more fights. It was just so scary.
No doubt.
Man, I learned real quick, girl, you're going to have to find some way of dealing with these people.
Yeah.
Whether that be running upstairs to that third floor on that dormitory and just stay. I didn't stay and watch. I didn't want to.
Okay.
I've never been one of those who wanted to stay and watch.
So you went back to your space, basically.
Yeah, I went up to the dorm. Like we had a big, it was a basement area where the TV was, and there were fights all the time. There were fights on the bus. There were fights in the cafeteria. There were fights, but it makes sense. We went there in 1969, and in the 70s, they had one social worker who no one ever asked me why I was there or what happened to me, or my brothers and sisters, or anyone, I don't think. But these people were good people just trying to take care of children who had nowhere else to be.
Yeah.
Now, in 73 and 74, they built what were called the cottages. We were the very first family to get to move in. We were all together again. It was beautiful. So the violence starts slowing down, and then it becomes to where it's hardly non-existent, because we all got to live in these little cottages. They were called cottages. They housed 8 kids each. Since there was 5 of us, and the other family had 3. Well, at the time they used to do 10, and then they started lowering it to 8. But they had 5, and we had 5, and it was the first perfect blend. There were 3 girls from my family, and 1 from that. My 2 brothers and their 3 brothers. So that was the combination of 10. So we were the very first ones. Got to wake up every morning again with my brothers and sisters. Got to have all our meals. It was easier cooking for that many kids, 10 of us and whatever. And of course we had amazing house parents that, they were elderly, but they were wonderful. And Mr. and Mrs. Pilkerton, they were like your grandmother and grandfather. He's a big old tall guy, and she was a grandmotherly type. They were tough, but they were great. They were wonderful people. And then we got a younger set of house parents later. They started replacing the older ones with younger ones. And but all that started settling down when we were put into a much more normal environment of being like a family.
Sure.
But so it all makes sense to me. Like there's, like I had a really hard time, like with my book, since it is a self-help book. I do talk about a few stories, but there were 2 rules that I made before I wrote that book. And the first one was I would not tell my own brothers and sisters stories. They could tell their own. Right. It wasn't my place to. And then the book comes out and they're like, why didn't you tell this story about me?
You could have mentioned me in the book.
Not your own book.
Yeah, exactly.
There's very few that I tell, but I don't name them. And but they know, they go, well, I'm the youngest brother. I'm the only young.
Yeah.
And the other one was not to talk badly about the children's home. So I did it in the most tasteful, because I don't want anybody to ever think I wasn't grateful for it.
Right.
I don't want anybody to ever think that it did not save mine and my brothers and sisters' lives, because it did.
Yeah.
But again, that's that whole, when you reflect back on a better situation or a worse situation, like what we came from, literally the horrendous things that were done to us as children versus, some kids that were mean.
Yeah, true.
And that's how I view it. Yeah. And look, it taught me a lot of lessons. I ended up in sales and public relations. Why? Because I learned how to maneuver 120 different personalities real quick.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
What a gift.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a beautiful gift. Yeah. And I made a good living doing that.
That's right.
And
so
how many people I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah. I'm sure helped a lot of people along the way too, which is incredible,
I would like to think that I have. I've got a lot more work to do that I'm so excited about.
Right. That's awesome. How did your siblings fare after going through all of that?
Yeah, well, my older sister, who passed about 5 years ago, she never kind of recovered very well. She would kind of come out how you would expect. The rest, we're all productive human beings that have raised amazing children. I have 2 children, and my daughter's an attorney with one of the most influential and amazing law firms here in Nashville. And,
takes after a mummy.
Well, yeah. Thank God she's worked so hard. And she's just brilliant and just wonderful. My son, he is still trying to find his way just a little, because boys do that, but he is tremendously smart. He's got the best heart in the whole world. He's just the most fabulous human being. And their father and I divorced 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have a great relationship, but I always encourage that. Now they have a really great relationship with their father. Parents, when they go through a divorce, they got to remember that there's somebody much more important than them and this stuff. And you have to give children permission to love the other ones. Like they know who wronged. Right. I don't have to tell them that. Not silly children. They know.
That's right.
But they don't care. They want to love their parent. And that's what I tell my children. I didn't have any, but man, I would love to. I would love to have had them. I would love for them to have come back and said, I'm so sorry, man. But they never did. And I said, so some people take a harder time to love, to figure it out. Yeah. And so I'm very grateful for that. And like, the whole family was over here last Sunday watching the football game with my ex-husband, my children, my little grandchild.
Wow.
With my new husband, who I've had for 6 years. He's pretty new. It'll be 6 years in October. I always call him my new and old husband. But they get along well, and so it's a gift that you give your children,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And I was like, I don't want him. Why do I care?
Yeah.
I just want my children to be happy, and I want them to be healthy emotionally and mentally, and so that's important. And, I chose him. Nobody made me choose him. I'm just sorry. And that's what I talk about in my speech too. Like sometimes we make bad choices because we don't even understand ourselves. Like 25 years ago, 26 years ago, I didn't know who I was. No. And I was married to him for 17 years. He didn't know who he was. Sometimes we make wrong choices. Right. But would you really take away your 2 children that you had from that? You learn from them. You learn from them. Look, I never made the same mistake again about red flags and things like that. I pay attention. And I paid attention with this one before I married him. And I was never going to bring a man into my home when my children were like 8 and 11. 8 and 10 when I got a divorce. No man was ever going to live in my house. I'd have to experience I'd lived.
Right.
With a stepmother. There was no way. No. And so I just knew that was not going to be something that I would, bring into my home. I wouldn't. It was another decision that I made that I stuck to. Mm-hmm. And I married Mike almost 6 years ago, and he's fabulous. And after 20 years of being divorced, I paid attention. Yeah. And man, I've never been so lucky to have the most fabulous human being who line him up in a room with 25 men. I'd never picked him out. I'd go, no, not you.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that funny how that works out like that, eh?
Well, in a really quick short story about that, I had back surgery 14 years ago, and for all practical purposes was like paralyzed. My girlfriends were coming over and taking me to the doctor. I couldn't walk. Wow. I had my L3 and L4. It had broken off into the nerves and everything. So, and I had 2 kids in college. I was by myself. And so I prayed. I got on my knees and I said, God, I'm ready. This is nice having these great girlfriends, but I think I'm ready for a life partner, not a boyfriend. I'm a pretty girl. I get a boyfriend, I want a life partner, but I want you to pick him. Aww. And I need him to be everything I need, because obviously I don't know what I need. I don't know what is right for me. And that's the kind of prayer warrior I am about life. And I said, but I need his name to be Michael so that I know you sent him. And I learned about Michael at 14 at the children's home, the warrior angel. And when I'd get so scared and all that, and I'd say, God, surround me with your protection and make sure that Michael the warrior angel is watching over me. And so 2.5 weeks later, here comes this man at a restaurant that we're at with some girlfriends, and he asked me to dance, and he walks up and says, "You sure are a pretty girl." And I'm like, "Oh, great." Great.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm a little cosmopolitan for this little like country boy. And but I'm obedient. Like, you do not spit in the face of God. I was like, oh, he says, "My name's Michael. And I'm like, oh, dear God, really?
This is him? You couldn't have picked something a little bit more fancy?
I know. I'm like, but it turned out, but we don't know. Turned out like this man wakes up every morning telling me like how beautiful I am. I'm like, no, I don't got no makeup. He's like, and thank you for being my wife. And this man, truly, I am his priority. Always have been. I mean, I'm kind of like his pretty princess, to be honest. Who don't want to be that? I can't do no wrong in his eyes. Which, me being the personality that I am, I strive even more. I bring him coffee in bed every morning. He gets breakfast on Saturday and Sunday. My girlfriends are like, "Why do you do that?" Because I want to. This man has earned this from me to be treated amazing like that, because I can't tell you, for the first time in my life, I feel safe.
Right.
And that's what I needed from a man. I'd never been safe in my whole life.
Yeah. You were
60 years. And for the first time in my life, I am safe, and I feel safe. I feel safe in every aspect of my life. And that was the gift that God gave, that he knew I needed. And he knew I needed to be adored because I'm a little prissy.
Yeah, that's right.
And the man's so grateful and thankful to have me. But I didn't know those things. I tell my girlfriends all the time, stop making the list. 6'2", he's going to be 5'4", because you're making these silly lists.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And you're overlooking these there are some amazing, wonderful men who want to care for a woman, who want to take care of her emotionally, mentally, even financially. I didn't need him for that, but we're of the same cloth in that, and we're very even, so that was nice.
Yeah.
But stop with my type. Obviously, your type sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. How's it been going for you so far?
And so I truly believe that. I believe there's some beautiful, wonderful men that are being so overlooked. And I found that out firsthand. And this man is smart. He's so emotionally healthy. He's an only child. Who would have known? But I always say, he was loved well by his mother and taught well by his father, which was exactly God's intent.
Right.
And that's why he is so emotionally healthy, because that's how God intended it, to be loved well by a mother and taught well by a father.
Right.
And he's an amazing man. And
I'm so happy that you have that.
I would have missed out on that,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're so deserving of that, Deb. You are so deserving of that. And I'm so happy that you have that you found that. That's so good.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice at this age. You don't have the children and the money and all the problems. And I understand that. Like, when you're young, man, it's hard to raise a family. It's hard to make it in this world.
Sure.
And so, but, if I have one little thing that I can tell people if they would practice, and that is literally practice treating them like you would your very best friend. I have some really great girlfriends. I would never talk to my girlfriends the way that I see some people talking to their spouse and behaving.
Right. Yeah.
And count instead of blowing your top off. And does it really matter if they don't pick up their socks? You just pass them, pick up their socks. Don't go find them to have a 10 or 15-minute argument about them not picking up their socks. And that was a promise that I made to Mike and that he made to me, was instead of chasing you down about something that's important to me that's not important to you, I will treat you with that kind of respect if you will treat me with that kind of respect. So we're not even sure what we do that the other one doesn't like, because that was an agreement that we made.
Right.
And isn't that much nicer than going and finding somebody to yell at them about something? Like,
absolutely. Stop. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's important that I wanted him to pick up his stuff, but it wasn't to him. It's important that he wanted me to whatever he wants me to do. I don't know. The man never tells me. He tells me I'm perfect, and I know I'm not. But I tell him he's perfect too. He's always like, I know I do. But no, you don't. Mm-hmm. Because to have you is to have it all.
Right.
And I'll take you and I was always like that. Look, I'm not changing nobody. So I neither live with the things that I'm not sure I'm particular about, or I'm not going to live with them. And you have to that's another conscious decision you have to make, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Too many. Like, why are you going to go find somebody and fight with them about them not putting the toilet down? He puts the toilet down, by the way.
Well, yeah. It's a little shocking if it. Yeah, exactly. No,
no, he really does. Very, very clean, and he's just so. And it's just so cool because he's really a man's man, and he's kind of got that face. And I remember when he first and he just retired, but he had like 49 guys that worked for him in the insurance company. And I remember the first time I went to his office and they're looking at me like, "Ooh, he's so mean. She ain't gonna survive."
Really?
And he's not. He's very principled. And
right.
That man in 11 years has never spoken a harsh word to me. And they're like, and I can remember when they got to know me, they're like, "Oh, thank you for making him so much nicer."
Oh, for heaven's sake.
But he's very compartmentalized about things. Like he had a responsibility in, in claims and those type of things. You got to be tough, and you got to, people are lying to you all the time, and he's not afraid to take on whatever. But me, I'm like, "Oh, I did this." He goes, "It's all right, sugar. I'm here now. I can take care of that." And he calls me sugar. "It's all right, sugar. I can take care of that. That's my job. Let me do that and fix that for you." I'm like,
"Oh my gosh, that's so incredible. That's so sweet."
And he's just like people are like. I remember his son goes, "Who is this man?"
Right, exactly. Oh, I'm so happy for you.
He found a safe place to fall too.
Right.
He found a place to fall that a woman was letting him be a man. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't going to try and strip him of that.
Right.
And when we travel, it's hilarious. I'm like a 4-year-old child walking around handing him gum wrappers. And he's like, "Sugar, could you walk a little faster? Sugar, could you walk any slower? Is it possible?"
Oh, my.
I said, "I'm sorry, I'm just watching everybody." He goes, "We're going to miss getting our rental car."
Oh,
go without me. I'll find you. And meanwhile, he's got all the bags. I've just got my little purse, and I'm just watching.
Oh, my gosh.
And he's, "Sugar. And I'm like, "Go get the car you want." He goes, "I don't want a van."
Oh, my.
Don't hurry. We're going to get the van. It's hilarious.
Oh,
and I'm
I
like,
love that.
"I'll catch up. I'll watch you. I won't lose you."
Oh, my gosh. That's a story. Yeah,
he's got all these bags, and he's just, and I'm just like, la la la.
Yeah, just checking it all out.
I never got to relax.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I kind of got worried that I kind of lost some of my toughness. I was like, "Ooh," and it's been funny doing this company and starting it because now he's got to see me back in business mode. And so I tell him. And he's used to being the boss. And I go, "Well, if you want to work for me," and I'll go, "But remember, I'm the boss." And he'll say something. I go, "I'm the boss."
Right.
I go and he's like, "Well, you're a little different." And I go, "Yes, I am. You've never seen me build a company before, have you?" You've never seen how focused I get.
Right, exactly. It's like, okay, well, she's serious this one now.
Yeah, we made some rules, and the first rule was, don't give me your advice unless I ask for it.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Very good plan.
Yeah, and I go, and stay on the subject. Don't go into a bunch of other. I just want the advice for that only.
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Where can you get your book, Deb?
It's on Amazon. It's also on my website. Yeah, if you go to my website, it's DebbieGreerChamberlain.com. And it's got a place right there to buy it, and it goes straight to Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah. And now they can order it at Barnes and Nobles or places like that, but it's better just go to Amazon.
Amazon's
and
just
it's
easy.
a small book. I'm about getting right down to what it is. I've had a lot of publishers, or not a lot, but about 4 or 5, and they want to rewrite it. And then I had one say to me out of New York, "Look, they're going to use you to sell your book. You're going to do all the work anyway, so don't sell your rights to the book." And they're going to change everything. And they go, "With your personality, I can assure you, you'll be doing all the work, and you're giving them 45% of your money."
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And so I just, and the book was a tool. The seminars that I do are amazing. If you really want to get down to the nitty gritty about who you are and what you want to become. And so that's the thing that I'm very excited about. And then that's public speaking.
Right.
If I can uplift somebody and, give them a little inspiration, a little motivation, then
that's awesome.
And I have people talk to me all the time about life coaching. I go, "Oh, please, I can barely keep my life in order. Why I want to try and fix somebody else's?" I don't want to call people every day and say, "Please do this," because, it's an 80-20 rule about the, people. 80 won't do it and 20 might.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh, gosh. You're incredible. You're just, you are just like a bright light. Like you literally are a bright light, and just radiate love. Like you really do. You are, I
strive every day to be the better person. I do my affirmations every morning, and I say, let me touch the people's lives who I'm meant to touch, and help them to grow, but in the process, help me to grow. I mean, we all can change every day and need things that we need to, to be the best that we can be too. And, learn things from people.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah.
And thank you, Linda, for having me.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Thank
that's
you
just
so
sweet
much.
of you.
I'm
so appreciative.
I am so appreciative that you were here. I really am. And I just think you are just such an incredible example of going from darkness to love and light. And I just
thank you.
I applaud you. And I'm just so happy that you are where you are and with your new love. And I love that it's like Michael, which
I always say to my girlfriends, there's still hope.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
But it's just like reading a book, looking at a book by its cover. Stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. and men are, oh my gosh, as women can destroy them so quickly.
Yeah.
And, they're like little boys.
Yes. True.
They are.
Yeah.
I'm the same with my husband. I'm so careful with my words and what he could, he just adores me and he doesn't get mad. He gets mad that he thinks he's disappointing me all the time. So I have to be very careful to make sure he doesn't disappoint me. But I'm just so amazed that that's how he, what he takes over himself. And it reminds me of my little son when he was little, not wanting to disappoint me. And, when you got the love of a good man, you really got the love of a good man. And it's a gift. Just like the Bible talks about having the love of a good woman. Mm-hmm. A woman can break or make a man. Mm-hmm. They really can. And, and these women, I've got lots and lots of girlfriends. I've got really close girlfriends, but I got lots and lots of girlfriends. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'm amazed at how they talk. To spouses or their partners. And I'm like, oh my God, that would never come out of my mouth. I would never do that. Yeah. And they don't deserve that. And, And I know there's men that are the same way that do the same thing too. Like, the difference is I would never tolerate it. So. Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what my husband always says, like, ooh, I would never do that or say that to you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would have never worked.
No.
But again, it all goes back to your self-worth and your value.
That's right.
You,
That's right.
What I was saying, you teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
You truly teach people how to treat you.
Exactly.
And if a man cares enough about you, then they want to treat you well. It's just like if a woman cares enough about a man, she wants to treat him well.
Right.
And, so, we teach people how to treat us.
Yeah.
We really do.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Any parting words for the people listening today that you could, offer some words of wisdom?
Well, first of all, it's important to me, I think, that, people start with forgiveness. I've had to forgive a lot in my lifetime. And I always say, man, if a little kid who is being abused so terribly every day can forgive those people, and I have. And, and the argument is always like, yeah, but I just can, or, why do they deserve it? It's not about them deserving it. It's about you deserving it.
So true.
Because, that bitterness that it creates in you is so ugly.
Yeah.
And it's damaging to the soul, and it's damaging to the people you do love.
Yeah.
Because you carry over so much, and it's just a weight lifted of forgiveness. And then accept where you came from. Like, there's a lot of kids at the children's home, well, not a lot, but a few that I know who are successful, but they don't want anybody to know. Don't want anybody to know. And that's a very fascinating thing for me. But I never talked about it, not because I was ashamed, but because I didn't have time.
Right. Yeah.
But man, you better be proud of that. Be proud of that. Be proud that you survived all that mess.
That's right.
That makes you someone special.
Yeah, not bad. It's it totally makes you special.
That you triumphed and you got back up.
Absolutely.
And get back up. Don't stay down there. Get back up over and over again. Because each time you get back up, you're going to be stronger. Every time. You'll get stronger and stronger. And then know who you are. Be honest about who you are as a person if you want to change it. Like, you can hide from the world, but you cannot hide from yourself. You can't.
That's right. That's right.
And man, you better be honest, and you better take some good hard looks, and then decide what you want to change. Because that's the only way that that's going to happen, is you changing it. But you got to be honest about who you are. People are so unself-aware. They don't know who they are.
That's true.
You see that. Like, I'm this or I'm that. And you're like, really?
Yeah. No, you're not.
But all right, then.
Yep.
Yeah. And then set some goals with some actions, for yourself. Yeah. Because it's your journey. Navigate it. Nobody else is going to navigate it. Well, that's not true. People will navigate it for you if you don't navigate it yourself.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly.
You're not going in the direction you want to. And that's why I used to tell my children when they were young, don't be falling stupid.
Yeah.
Don't let you
I love that.
Right. Don't fall stupid. Don't let someone lead you where you don't want to go.
That's right.
And people do that so often. And then last, my goodness, if you don't have any faith, find some. You got to believe in somebody stronger than yourself. I don't care who that is. For me, it's Jesus Christ. But, find some faith and then practice that faith like you were a little kid. As a little kid, that's what kept me going. I was the what if. What if I'm so close? Or, I remember sitting in the corners. My stepmother used to beat the crap out of us as she'd pass by, knocking our heads in the wall and kicking us in the back. And I remember as a little kid just praying, God, please send a good family. Please send a good family. And I believed that he would. And I would say to my brothers and sisters, he'll send a good family. And we ended up at the children's home. And I'm like, well, God does have a sense of humor.
Exactly.
So be prepared for that.
That's right.
But what I've learned through all those lessons is prayer never looks like we think it's going to look when it's answered. But they are mostly answered, but they never look like what we suspect they'll look like.
Right.
And so embrace those opportunities and don't be so afraid of them. Like, fear kills us all.
Yeah.
But again, they might can kill you, but they can't eat you. So just go for it,
Exactly.
Dream bigger. If it's scary, dream bigger.
Yeah.
And just, just don't be afraid to go for it. Take little steps if you need to.
Yeah.
And pat yourself on the back that you did it.
That's right.
Like, yay, I did that. I made it that far.
Exactly.
I want to see how much further I go.
Yeah.
And one thing I've learned in life, nothing's ever as bad as you think it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It never is.
True.
We can sit and worry and fret over something and think about stuff. It's hardly ever looks as terrible as we thought it was going to look.
That's right.
And
so
we survive it.
No sense worrying about it, right?
Yeah, we do survive it.
Yeah, exactly.
We've survived a whole lot more than we ever thought we'd survive. And guess what? We'll survive other things.
That's right.
As long as you're alive, it's not going to end. The challenges and the setbacks and everything.
No.
It's just not.
No, exactly.
You're just going to get better at it and stronger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
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 Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are so welcome, Linda. Thank you.
So
Thank
lovely
you
to have you.
I so appreciate it.
Oh, and I just love you. I wish I lived near you because I'd be one of the girlfriends down there too.
That's been the most amazing thing is I've met all these amazing people doing these podcasts, and I'm like, oh man, you'd be the best girlfriend, and you'd be my girl. I love you. So just come and visit.
There you go. We'll just have to have a road trip.
Great place to visit.
I know. That's right. Oh my God, that would be amazing. I've never even been there, so hey, maybe.
Oh, you haven't? It's amazing. You should come.
Yeah,
just call me before you do, so I can help you with everything about where the best place. And girl, I'll run around with you.
All right, sounds like a plan.
That's right.
Got my cowboy boots. Let's go.
Yeah, they're all so different. Some of them I have to pull along, and some I have to push and say stop.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Back over here and at your age for a minute or two.
Oh my God!
And then others, I'm like, no, it's okay. We're going to survive this. Me and you'll get the rest out of jail. I'm the rule follower. I'm going to sit back here and watch them.
That's right. We've got you to protect us. So
that's right. That's what they always say. Deb will get us out of jail.
Exactly.
No, I'm just kidding. They're wonderful. Really, they're very accomplished and wonderful, beautiful women.
That's so awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you everyone for listening today. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as I did. And, if you feel like there's somebody out there that maybe really needs to listen to this, please share. Please share. It's so important. And I am sending you all so much love and light. And bye for now. We'll talk to you all again soon. Have a great one. Bye, everyone.